Welcome back to episode 2 of Design on Purpose, the WordPlay Studio podcast, where we talk about design, purpose-led organizations, transformation, systems change, and new ways of working. You're here with two founders of WordPlay Studio, myself, Rix.
And I'm Tom.
And yeah, as promised, we're here again for episode 2. We've committed to doing a weekly podcast. So here we are. With a few iterations from Nelson, who's been kind of guiding us on our podcast journey. And as you can see, a little bit of a different format today where we're facing each other, trying something different. And we haven't quite got the chairs that we need to be doing this podcast. I'm currently sitting on a ladder and Tom's on his...
on my wobble chair. And Rix is about a foot taller than me while sitting on these two. So
so that's not to scale if you're watching the video. And yeah, so today we thought we'd talk about a very important topic, something that I think every entrepreneur faces. And that's around like self-love or self-care and health while running a business and scaling a business. So that's something that we're both very interested in. It's something that we both do a lot of work on, and it's definitely something that sometimes goes a bit neglected at times when things get busy and the stress load goes up. So just have a little talk about that today.
And just before we kick off, I just want to congratulate Rix on her first jiu-jitsu stripe that she got last night.
Oh, so, thank you.
Nice work, Rix. And also, if Rix falls off her chair, it's not because she's lightheaded or anything, but she is halfway through a 10-day fast, which she'll probably share a little bit about today as well. And obviously, after running a business we're coming up to our 7th year now, next month, March 26th, I think it is. We've gone through a lot of ups and downs and had a lot of challenges, both personally and collectively and, globally as well, like we've all been experiencing over the last couple of years. And definitely have learnt, well, for me anyway, I feel like I've learnt the hard way a few different times with self-love and especially when you're in a client business, it's very easy to slip into the sort of service-orientated mindset where you're just always thinking about the client and always really wanting to do the best work as possible and just putting all that in front of things when potentially there's some things that you need to put for yourself first, and the longer you don't do that, the longer these things sort of build up and and can get you into some situations that you then have to spend some time healing from and untangling in order to keep growing. So
that's right, and I guess that's something around the podcast. Like it's always something that we've always wanted to do, and there is that aspect of not really wanting to put yourself out there or be vulnerable on camera or sharing in that way. But also we have aspirations to do the podcast or to create content or do whatever we're going to do. And then, it always gets pushed behind like client deadlines and client work. So
yes. Yeah. So it's taken a lot of reflecting and also trial and error, especially just trying to work it into your weekly schedule and even this week, things we're planning to record on Monday, get it done, get it out of the way. And then things, things did need to get into the way this week after last weekend. And I was on a bit of an adrenaline dump on Monday morning after going in my first jiu-jitsu tournament, which was a bit of a wild ride as well.
You did so well.
Yeah, thanks. And then Rick's starting a cleanse as well. So we sort of, but in the context of we're committed to doing this now and we're going to be at it regardless. So
yeah, and then just like on the health side of things, like as an entrepreneur, a lot of the time there's all this stress that kind of comes in and that kind of like affects your immune system and your ability to perform or to be at your best and to show up at your potential. So it's kind of like if you don't look after yourself and you don't take care of just the basic things like eating well, drinking water, and you start to build up these stress and toxins in your body. And like for us as well, we're very guilty of drinking a lot of coffee. We love coffee. That kind of gets us through the day, and we'll be brewing a hot pot of coffee first thing in the morning. It's definitely not something that we'll give up entirely, but I think that combination of the acidity and the stress and the toxicity of stress which can happen in a business doesn't very much lead well into a good immunity or immune system.
No, and especially the two kind of go hand in hand and sort of fuel one another, because usually when you're more relaxed and charged up, you're more in that mindset of eating well, training well, sleeping well, especially sleeping well because you're not stressed. But when you are stressed and you've got a lot on your mind, you maybe have some high pressure projects going on that are just constantly running in the background, and and you've got deadlines to meet. It's very easy to just fall back on, or not fall back on, but use these things as a tool like coffee to get you through the day. And especially when you get hyped up and get really excited about things like we do when we're sort of in the zone throughout the week, it's like, oh yeah, let's just go have a coffee, or alcohol is similar as well, because and the more you kind of use these as a stress reliever rather than a tool to assist you in your day. That's when you start to get into a little bit of a sticky situation.
We definitely like to do that, don't we? Like we do like to have a beer, go down to the local and hang out and debrief on the day or the week's worth of work, and kind of, I guess have a bit of stress relief after the week.
Yeah.
And also a bit of fun and just,
totally.
good conversation out of the studio. So, we do love that culture and that side of things, but I think I'm definitely looking at things a bit differently in terms of the relationship that I have with those things, not to cut them out completely, but just to kind of like change my relationship with it. And I think that's, part of the reason why I started doing this fast or this cleanse, was because I just felt like I needed to do something to kind of, reset myself or reset my system, because I was realizing some things. Like I was excited in the morning to get up and have a pot of coffee, and I thought, that's probably not such a good thing, to rely on that. And I was having trouble sleeping because I was so jacked up on caffeine all the time. I'm like 5 days in now to a 10-day detox or cleanse, no food, just fasting. Bit of like lemon water, and surprisingly I feel quite energetic. I feel good, and I feel like just even going through this process, I'm already starting to feel differently about those things. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens when I come off the cleanse. I've got 5 days left to go, but it has been an interesting experience. It's been a bit of a mind game in realizing some things or some attachments around food and how I use food, or, especially around comfort or for energy, get a caffeine rush. Yeah, so it's been very interesting in terms of the mental aspect of it.
Oh yeah, well, I'm not doing the whole cleanse, but I sort of kicked it off with Rix for a couple of days and experimented. It was the first time I've ever, I just went 2 days without food. And I was already just immediately you realize how much food is a comforting tool, and also a quite pleasurable, or for me anyway, it's very pleasurable. You realize how much you're sort of looking forward to the next meal, or what you're going to eat for dinner or lunch or whatever, or where you go, and also culturally, like where you're going to go to, if you want to go to the cafe or do this or do that. It's like a lot of it revolves around food, and when you cut that out of your life, suddenly a lot more opens up, right? But yeah, you're looking amazing, to be honest. Like honestly, like you're looking like very bright, like lighter, just in spirit, and yeah, I'm excited to see how you go.
I did get, like you can see on my face, I have got a little bit of redness from like some toxins that have obviously come out. But I'm definitely looking forward to. I feel good. Like I feel really good. I feel my mind feels really clear. I went to training last night. I felt I didn't have my full energy, but I felt like pretty good.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens in 5 days' time. But it's already been like a big transformation for me, I feel like. But yeah, enjoying it.
Nice one. Yeah, well, I'm definitely keen to hear what the final results are and how that affects further. But and another thing I guess I was thinking about when we're talking about self-love and even health in general is that and relating it to food as well is that, you know, we are our environment, and we are nature, right? And you know, a lot of the things that we're passionate about is really working alongside and with nature and in nature, and spending our time in nature and working with organizations that have a similar you know, drive and passion for the environment. Because, you know, the more that we destroy and you know, destruct Mother Nature, we're literally destructing ourselves, because we're you know, we're literally everything that we do, everything that we put in our body, the air we breathe, the water we drink, all the food comes from the earth. And if the earth's in poor health as well, you know, that's just a flow-on effect internally with us, on the tiny little, you know, microbes in our stomachs, to, you know, the massive you know, animals that keep everything in balance, that in the rainforest or in the jungle.
Yeah, we risk. I think Paul Stamets talks about this a little bit. It's like, well, a lot actually, around, you know, preserving these medicines, these plant medicines. You know, we're going through and kind of destroying things, and you can see the reflection in human health, you know, on planetary health, and there's obviously a very big connection there, like what you're saying.
Oh yeah.
But if we continue the way that we are, you know, we risk kind of like destroying plants and medicines and things that we're essentially going to need to heal ourselves.
Yeah, and there's I'm not sure what the studies were, but I've heard of studies of indigenous tribes and cultures way back in time that, you know, the amount of microorganisms they had in their stomach is like far beyond what we have now, which makes them so much more resilient to you know, to things like viruses or even mental health issues, because now we're obviously very you know, aware of the gut-brain relationship, and how, you know, if you're, you know, you could be having a very spiritual practice or even be a spiritual person, but if you're eating a diet that's ruining your gut, you know, it's going to start to tap into your, like, well, it's a whole connected web of, you know, emotional, mental, physical, spiritual sort of aspect of health. That, yeah, once one starts to degrade or degenerate, it's got a flow-on effect, and that's personally, that's on the smaller scale to the largest. So
it definitely has an impact on your decision-making capability, you know, and your emotions, and that it's kind of a stress that you're putting yourself in, and you know, when you're letting your health kind of degrade, it's kind of piling up. You know, the stressful toxic system, you know, is a kind of environment where, you know, parasites and things are going to thrive. And then on top of that, it's adding stress, and it's just like this loop until you get off the roundabout and take a moment to kind of resolve that and change your lifestyle and change your habits. You're going to end up somewhere which is not good.
Yes, yeah, that's right. And I think another reference to another Paul Chek, he always talks about the pain teacher coming. You know, it's like, yeah, we're all very good at you know, receiving messages from the pain teacher, which is actually, you know, it might be a sore or poor sleep or whatever it is, some sort of condition. But you're very good at dismissing it and going, oh, I'll deal with that later. But eventually you're going to get to a point where your whole, you know, health and everyone that relies on you in your life, you know, your clients, your family, whoever, you're now dependent on them, which is, you know, the complete opposite of living your potential. So, yeah, it's been you know, just thinking about over the years how much, you know, it's a gradual journey too, isn't it? It's like you can't just flip overnight and go out, you know, completely healthy in terms of, you know, doing every single thing that you've always, you know, wanted to do in all the different areas. You know, it's about, you know, because the reality is you still got to, you know, work and do things, and that's really the challenge is how do you thread that into your day and into your schedule, so you are, you know, living your full potential and being your full, you know, vitality.
Yeah, and I think once you start to put energy there, you'll see the results, you know, and those little results and those wins that you have, investing in your health and investing in your vitality, they're going to shine through in the rest of your life, like in your business, in your family, in your relationships. You're just going to feel better. So, you know, it's going to come back around. So, you know, a lot of the time you kind of put yourself last, or you don't really think about, your health doesn't really come first. So, we do have this value at WordPlay. It's one of our 12 values. I don't know if you can see it there on the camera, but yeah, it is self-love. And it's something that we thought was very important to include in our values because, without taking care of yourself, you can't really give back to others. You have to fill up your own cup. And so that requires, that requires your energy being put back into yourself.
And that's the only way that we can change the world is first by changing ourselves, because we can't change others and others, they can influence us and inspire us, but really at the end of the day, we can only take care of ourselves. And if that happens locally, by yourself or in a relationship, and then a whole community does that, and then the whole, nation or whatever, and it keeps going, then we can really start to see change in the world. Which is, and it's easier to say than, especially right now where everyone's kind of got a lot of fear involved with health and there's a lot of, uncertainty around, how to best find health, because there's a lot of information. Obviously, there's like all this whole plethora of information around what can or is good for you. And then a lot of it's obviously driven by, there's obviously health practitioners and there's thought leaders and stuff in health. And then there's, industries and stuff also that are pushing healthy products and healthy things that you might think are healthy. And then you find out later you've just been dieting on something that's actually one of the contributors to to the degeneration of your health. So it's it's a bit of a crazy world to navigate with that. But but there's a lot of amazing, once you start digging around and finding some gold, it's definitely going to change your life.
There's a lot of really good teachers out there. You mentioned one of them before, Paul Chek.
Legend.
We've learned so much from that podcast. I mean, if you haven't heard of it, it's the Living 4D podcast by Paul Chek. You can find it on Spotify. It's
amazing.
And he's also got some really great YouTube videos of some of his talks, but I love listening to those. And every time I chuck one of them on, I'm always coming out of the other side with just so much great information.
So many notes to take, just like, I got to remember
and then you got to
that.
kind of it takes a little integrating time, to try and integrate it into your life. But I've been really enjoying those. And Tom, I was going to ask you, what are some of the things that you've been doing in your life to kind of live a healthier lifestyle, or alleviate stress, or what changes?
For me, and actually a lot of I've been a big listener of the Paul Chek's podcast for the last year, and it has really shifted a lot of the ways that I look at things. I was already on certain paths with things, but definitely recently, looking at it as a holistic system where there's like like I mentioned before, there's like a spiritual, emotional, physical and mental sort of aspect of your health. And if you're just focusing on one, which I've definitely done in the past, where I'm just like, physical aspect of health, I'm really fit, whatever. But then why am I experiencing a lot of fluctuations in emotion or whatever? And then, after doing that, starting to look at the gut health last year and doing a healing around that, I did notice a significant shift in terms of how much, ups and downs I'm getting throughout the week. For me, I'm super active. I love to just be active. I'm cycling in the mornings, most mornings. Always got my eye on the ocean, which is, got not just the physical aspect of surfing, but also just being in nature, immersing yourself in the great ocean is just such an amazing thing for me. And recently, jiu-jitsu, which has been really, it's been a whole world of information exposed, and it's like everything I've kind of ever been wanting in one sport and culture and art together. And we've both been training jiu-jitsu lately, which has been pretty cool. So those are the things. And then the other main thing to mention is organic food. And I'm not eating 100% organic. I'd like to be, for sure. But after studying more around soil health and how that is just the key to a lot of balance of nature, because you are what you eat. What you eats, what your plants are eating are what's in the soil, and what if you're eating animals, it's what they're eating in the soil too. Everything comes back to the soil and water as well. So yeah, just really switching up the diet and looking at everything holistically as a system, you know, from all aspects. And when you're feeling down, having that kind of, or out of balance, having that sort of awareness to be like, okay, like something in this system is out of balance, and I need to spend more time to focus on that.
What about that thing you were saying, which just reminded me of the soil health, the humus and the human?
Yeah.
Say about that.
Yes.
That's really interesting.
Well, yes. If anyone's interested too, there's an amazing TED talk by Graham Sate. He's an Australian guy. He's like this amazing soil expert. I think he lives up in Queensland. But he does this amazing chat around humus, and I had no idea what humus was before learning about soil. But humus is that like dark, rich, gooey like organic matter in the soil, which is just like super high in nutrients. And the word actually comes, human. The word human actually stems from the word human, which means, you know, of the earth. So and that's, yeah, it's an amazing sort of mind blowing moment when you think about that, because like as we were saying, you know, when you realize that you are part of nature, but it's also the way that we're described as a word, a human, is actually of the earth.
That's it, isn't it? I mean, that's definitely something that I've been looking into also. It's like I went on this whole journey with my gut health. You know, I had like an infection in my gut for quite some time, like a staph infection. Then I ended up developing a cyst that I had to get removed. And I didn't know that I had the gut infection until I had that physical, you know, manifestation of what was actually happening inside. And then it kind of really shook me, and that's kind of when I started investigating this stuff a bit further. I mean, I've always been into like health, you know, but I think just the lifestyle and the stress of running a business, I think I kind of put some of those things to the side. I think you remember like in uni, like I was really into the water quality and like living water and all of that, which we can talk about another time. But I started investigating that, and I came around to the same thing, and it was around this like humic acid, fulvic acid, you know, thing that these really essential kind of minerals or compounds that you need to build a really good gut biome. Gut biome.
I've heard that one before. That's good.
gut biome. And
your butt biome.
And your butt biome.
It's all connected.
But so I started looking into it, and I found this stuff called shilajit, and it's like this mineral from the Himalayan mountains. I think the monks used to eat this, but it's got all that really good stuff in it, and we've been taking it, and I've been having that, and I've just, since then, it's just completely changed my whole system. I've been feeling amazing.
Yeah, same here. Like Rick's got me onto the shilajit. To be honest, Rick's has gotten me onto a lot of amazing health situations. So thanks so much for everything as well. Yeah, we help each other out when we need it. So, but yeah, the shilajit to me, like I remember eating it at first. I was like, oh, this is a strange taste. Like tastes like something
like tar.
Yeah, like tar, but it's got this like very organic-y kind of, like it doesn't taste chemically. It tastes like raw, real raw. And now my body craves it. I can feel my body just going, oh, you need to get like tuck into some shilajit, because you really do feel like this whole rush of energy, and you sort of feel your energy almost rebalancing as well after taking shilajit, I feel.
Yeah, it's been really good for me, and just that whole journey of you know, cleansing and being a bit more aware. I mean, obviously there's slips here and there, and for me it hasn't been really consistent. I think I'm kind of, you know, I'm 36 now, 37 this year. So I'm kind of like, you know, changing my kind of, I don't know, relationship with myself and my health. I think I've had some realizations around some things. But I think, you know, that going on that journey as well, it's physically manifesting, but then there's also, you know, this conscious side of it as well, where you're just getting an awareness not only of yourself and how everything in your system is actually connected. Like even just doing this cleanse, like it's really, what's been really interesting is that when I have an elimination, like when I go to the bathroom, on the cleanse, you feel certain parts of your body just kind of releasing, you know. It's like this tension, or whether it's some bacteria or something that's in there that's actually causing all of this like tension or stiffness in your body, and you're not really realizing it. And there's been so many things like that on this journey for me, like I've got a bit of a rotated shoulder, for example. And for a long time, I've been stretching my shoulder and I've been thinking it's my shoulder. But then I've started doing some more functional movements and things like that. And I'm actually realizing it's actually more to do with my hips, and how I'm kind of holding my spine. So, a lot of the time you're kind of going to the ailment or where you're actually feeling the pain or the tightness or whatever it is. But then it's actually related to something so different to what you actually even realize. And I'm not a doctor or a health practitioner or anything like that, but it's definitely been like my own personal journey of learning about myself. And then within that, like if you scale out how we're all connected and related to each other and nature and everything, like it's all kind of like fractal in and one of each other. So it's just, you can just go so deep. And I'm sure, like I'm 36, I'm sure, in 10 years, 20 years time, like there's so much more to learn and it's probably endless.
Yeah. And also just to add to that, it's like, it's so, you have to be quite savvy as well, right? Because you can be recommended like, oh, you got a sore shoulder. Okay, let's treat your shoulder. But then finding, from your own research or whatever it is, same with the diet, you find out that where the pain is showing is not actually the source of the problem itself. It's like, it comes through some other channel, or maybe it is an emotional thing or a stomach thing or whatever. It's like, and that's what I'm saying. It's like there's so much information, but it is kind of like up to us to take responsibility of our own health and bodies, because if you just result to, I don't know, just whoever to just give you some sort of relief without really getting a full understanding of your system and it's just not going to really happen. But but as you really get a greater understanding of your own system, your body's pretty intuitive too. It sends you a lot of signals and tells you a lot of things, which I'm definitely learning to listen to, because I find out things later and I'm like, oh, I did kind of have a sense that was the thing, and then you kind of put it away. But it's I'm definitely excited to keep tuning in and learning more about this and sharing and learning and sharing as well, because as I said, it's like when you start to picture it like that, it's like we're all, it's just me and you here right now, but then imagine if this whole neighborhood was doing the same thing, and the whole keep zooming out, what kind of impact that would make on the world.
In the level of our consciousness as well, and like how we're treating each other and our level of ability to be able to be aware of what's going on around us with clarity. Because I feel like a lot of people are just in a fog and digesting terrible foods and water and media as well. So there's all many aspects to that. And actually, what's been so interesting as well, like doing this Paul Chek stuff, like we got the book Eat, Move and Be Healthy. How to Eat, Move and Be Healthy. It's been so awesome. And so we're kind of going, and Tom actually got those, so thank you for those, Tom.
No worries.
So they, inside the book, there's all these like checklists and things to do.
It's like a workbook, isn't it?
It's a workbook for you designing like your own healthy kind of lifestyle plan. And I consider myself to be like relatively healthy, but then when I did these surveys, there was one around like, what was it, around eating type, or like
you are what you eat, you are when you eat,
you are when you eat.
Parasites
and all that stuff,
fungal infections and
exactly. So like I thought I scored quite highly on that parasite one. So that was just another affirmation for me. Like I have to do a cleanse and do a bit of a fast and try and flush some of these things out. But it's just like you think you're something and then you realize, well, actually, you might think you're eating healthy, but you're actually not eating healthy for your body type.
Yeah. So
you're not really getting the fuel that you need. I think he describes it as like, putting petrol in a diesel car or something like that as the equivalent. Right. So it makes so much sense, all this stuff. And it actually, it's true. Like intuitively, because intuitively, what feels good, what you're eating, like what food you eat and what your body actually wants to eat. And you know what foods you eat and your body doesn't feel great. But then you might have like, you know, a tendency to have those things out of stress or whatever it is, or comfort or whatever it is, knowing that you're going to, you know, pay for it later. So it's just a learning experience, and I wish I'd learnt that stuff earlier, to be honest. But I guess you kind of find those teachings at the right time.
And also I find, like, because it's easy to be like, oh, shame, like I've been eating bad and I've been doing this and I've not been eating well, and it's like you can kind of get like, you know, there's a sense of shame or you know, being hard on yourself when these things happen. But then at the same time, it's like, you know, and people talk about these examples where like people can live really thriving lives and their diets might not even be that good, but they're not relating to their diet as something that's destructive to them. Like it's like a mindset thing where if you're eating food or doing something and you're actually feeling the guilt, you're digesting the guilt too, and that's creating a you know, flow-on effect of degeneration in all kinds of areas of your system. You know, but it's all good to go out and, you know, have coffee or have a beer or eat something like that's not considered healthy. Whenever, as long as you're actually enjoying yourself while you do it, it's actually part of, it's a reward for yourself rather than something that you're just like, oh, guilt, and then that's just going to lead down more. I
think I referred to us as being guilty at the beginning of this episode for being into coffee or beer or something. So I retract that. I think that's very true. I think, yeah, enjoy when you're enjoying and not to feel the guilt. And I think
being in control of it, not it being in control of you, right?
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? Relationship. I think it's all about the relationship that you have with things. And what do you have any like tips or advice for any entrepreneurs out there that might be feeling like they are maybe not in the healthiest way, or maybe they're not taking the time to nurture themselves, or maybe they're having some realizations after listening to this about their own self-care? Like how would you approach that? Like what kinds of things would you be looking at in terms of looking after yourself better?
Yeah, well, I'm definitely keen to hear your answer as well on this. But for me, like I'm a little bit younger than you, and the biggest thing that I've realized as I've been getting older is that I was putting way too much pressure on myself for so long, and that was really the source of my unhappiness. It was the source of my stress. It just never really felt like I was amounting to whatever I needed to do, because I was always putting way too much pressure on myself to be very good at design or work or art or creativity, all these like this one kind of area of my life that I kind of just put up there as like the be all end all thing that I was striving for. And in the pursuit of that, I've just, you know, I basically ended up like falling off the rails, like especially with stress and things where you're just like, let all this other stuff in your life slide, you know, relationships, health, you know, and not just enjoying yourself. And I'm still trying to learn that as much more, where it's like, you can just be enjoying yourself the whole journey. The whole thing's amazing, the ups, the downs. And yeah, I think that's the biggest lesson I've sort of learned anyway. But, I'm not sure as you get older, I'd love to, you know, hear as well, you know, much older people, what they, how they would answer that too.
I hope you're not referring to me.
No, but I'm just kind of referring to like, you know, there's different phases of your life that you go through, and I can imagine they all have their sort of maturing stages and the things that you go through that enable your maturation. So yeah. What about you?
Well, I think for me, you know, it's the simple things. It's like something that I feel like I wasn't doing enough of is just basic, like drinking water. You know, I actually just wasn't drinking enough water, and that's just like baseline, like hygiene factor, need to drink more water. Yeah. And I think a lot of people kind of do that. And, you know, that doesn't allow your body to kind of function at its best. You know, you're not really kind of able to, well, just, you know, have a basic level of hydration to kind of even think, or you know, you're kind of getting taken over by other things that you're putting in your body, and your body's not getting what it needs to kind of just do its natural processes, which impacts everything, right? So I think it's just, you know, first step is just looking at those things, like, you know, obviously looking at your diet, at your habits. You know, are you doing things because they are helping you to alleviate stress? Is it something that's actually causing damage in some ways to you? whether it's, going out and having a few drinks because you're stressed on a project, or, need to unwind, or is it, you're having the coffee because you need to kind of keep yourself energized. And I think trying to find healthier habits or healthier things that maybe you can substitute them for, or find different kind of rituals. For me, the coffee, I love drinking coffee, but a lot around it was the ritual of it all, getting the Chemex, doing the coffee, going out to Keith's here in Mawillumbah, having a little cafezinho, or having saying hello. It's the social aspect of it, which is still nice. I'll still do that. But I think just checking in on your relationships with these things, and are they serving you? Are they helping you? Are they, why, everything comes back to the why, why are you doing them? And making sure that you're taking time each day to kind of be active. Because we used to, before we started getting really committed to training a lot, I would kind of just go, I had, I wanted to go to CrossFit, or I wanted to go to the gym in the evening or something. And then I'd go, oh, no, I'm not going to go because I've got to finish this thing. So it's actually setting boundaries around what those things are that you've committed to for yourself, and putting those boundaries there. Because if you don't do that, then, and you do that for a year, 2 years, 3 years, over time, it just kind of adds up where you're not actually investing in those things that are developing your health, or helping you to develop as a person, or just maintain your own a healthy lifestyle.
And that's it. And that's exactly going back to the self-love value is that's where it all really comes from, isn't it? It's because if you're just investing everything into WordPlay or your business or your projects, and you're not investing anything into yourself, that are the things that allow you to have the energy to then be your best when you're fulfilling these projects, or doing creative things, thinking creatively, solving problems, it's just, you're just going to burn out, and it's that's just the hard reality of it.
And we need healthy people. We need healthy people,
balanced, with grounded people,
ability to be able to think critically and to contribute to the change that needs to happen right now, which is going to happen. And so, we need as many people on board as possible to be looking after themselves, and, just to be in awareness. So, on that note, how do you think we're going for time? Do you think
I think that's good. The second one down. So to close out, thanks for listening. As we said at the beginning, I'm Tom.
I'm Rinks.
Yeah, and we're from WordPlay Studio, and you can follow us on Instagram at WordPlay Studio. You can also find us on LinkedIn, WordPlay Studio, and www.wordplaystudio.com is our website, with a new page coming soon, hopefully.
Very soon.
Very soon. So, thanks again for listening. Stay tuned, and we'll be back with another episode shortly.